Welcome back. Today's story comes from Reddit's r/AmItheAsshole. The post is titled, Why for saying I don't want an adult man going to the movies with my teenage son and his friends. Here is the full story. My son John is 15 years old. He and his friends are really into the Backrooms. If you're not familiar, it's a series of spooky YouTube videos based on liminal spaces and images. Recently, a movie based on this concept was announced. The day the tickets went on sale, John eagerly bought a bunch for himself and his friends. He was excited to tell me about it, not just because he was looking forward to the movie, but also because he would need a ride. But aside from that, he took the initiative to buy the tickets with his own money and planned the outing himself. Things took an interesting turn when I was approached after school by the mother of one of John's friends, a boy we'll call Bob. I don't know Bob or his parents very well, but Bob has always seemed lovely in our brief interactions. However, his mom has always struck me as a bit odd, and this encounter was no exception. She explained that the reason Bob hadn't RSVP'd yet was that she wanted to know more about the movie. Personally, I would have just Googled it, but I told her what I knew, that it was more of a thriller or spooky film, not a slasher. She then mentioned that Bob has never seen a horror movie and was unsure if she wanted to let him go. Okay, fair enough. Then she started asking about the movie's start time and when they should arrive. I honestly didn't have that information handy and told her she would have to ask John since he was the one organizing everything. I felt like she was looking at me strangely, but maybe I was just imagining it. She then shared a story about how she was scared by a horror movie as a kid and still has lingering issues about it. I wasn't quite sure how to respond to that. Eventually, she wrapped up by saying she still needed to think about whether Bob could go. But then she added that if Bob did go, her husband would accompany them and sit in the row behind the boys. I nodded along because I needed to leave, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something about that arrangement was off. It feels strange for an adult to sit behind a group of high school kids at a movie. John spent about $80 on those tickets, which is quite a lot for a teenager. And while I believe John and his friends are good kids, I'm sure they want the freedom to react naturally, yelling, "Oh shit," when a monster jumps out, or whatever else 15-year-old boys might say when their parents aren't around. So I'm left wondering, would I be the asshole if I reached out to this mom and expressed my discomfort with that arrangement? I would feel bad if that means Bob can't go, but it just feels weird, doesn't it? I later realized comically that I didn't even know this movie was rated R. The videos my son showed me were pretty tame, so maybe the movie is different. Or maybe I just don't understand how ratings work. But knowing that, it does make me feel a bit better about Bob's dad going, as it saves me from having to go myself. Reflecting on this, I would happily accept asshole status for not realizing the movie was rated R and for unintentionally implying that Bob's dad is creepy, though that was never my intention. When I said I thought it was weird, I was looking at it from the perspective of someone who used to be a teenager and wouldn't want adults hovering around. It's not that I wanted to enable trouble, but more about granting autonomy. For those who suggested I should have communicated with my son first instead of making assumptions, I see your point. I know that Reddit can sometimes lean towards extremes, and some folks might think my son is isolated or that we never talk. But I believe in a balanced approach to parenting, allowing my child gradual increases in autonomy and responsibility, especially in low-stakes situations like a movie theater. This is exactly why my son is a mature and level-headed kid whom I trust. As a high school teacher, I often see kids his age and older who struggle to take responsibility or manage things on their own without parental intervention, and that worries me about their future. So, that's my perspective. In the end, I think I'll just express my gratitude to Bob's dad and leave it at that. Now let's see what Reddit had to say. You're acting like it's some random adult tagging along. It's one of their parents. There's nothing weird about a parent supervising a group outing. In fact, most people consider it good parenting. It's an R-rated movie. They can't even get into the movie without an adult in the US. The number of people here who think it's okay, or should be okay, for a teen to run around with kids the parents don't know is astounding. It actually says quite a bit about you and your parenting if you're not bothering to know your kids' friends, which is what this dad is doing by supervising the outing. I wish more parents would chaperone their teenage kids at the movie theater. Seems like every time we go, there's a group of disruptive kids talking or texting through the whole movie. You are the asshole. I thought you were going to say he had an online friend that was an adult, not another kid's dad. Yeah, you are the asshole for considering excluding a kid because his parents want to chaperone their own child. Also, he'd be a row behind. If the boys mind, they can ask him to sit a little further back. This is not a real issue. You are the asshole. They are kids still. It's not unusual for some parents wanting a chaperone for an R-rated movie. They might think it's lame, but I'm failing to see why you should be uncomfortable with it, unless you have a reason to feel that way about the dad. Not to mention, R-rated literally means anyone under 17 is supposed to be accompanied by an adult. You are the asshole. It's a parent chaperoning their kid to the movies, not someone making a guest list for a pool party. The way you framed it is messed up. You are the a-hole. It's his dad, not a random dude. Honestly, you sound kind of weird for making this a big deal. Plus, it's an R-rated movie, so technically they need an adult anyway. You are the a-hole. Your title and tone really make it seem like the guy was going to be some stranger the kids met online. That you were talking about one of the kids' dads makes a difference. I get that at 15, many parents would be okay with dropping their kids off at the movie theater and picking them up. My parents did that, and I would too. But many parents don't do that. That's the choice that this kid's parents get to make. You should speak to your son about it and ask what he thinks. Also, just because your son is organizing doesn't mean he can stop someone's parent from going to a public movie theater. The kids hopefully don't judge their friend for his parents' parenting choices as you judge them for their parenting choices. I am uncomfortable with a man going to the movies with my son. Never mind, as long as I am not being inconvenienced, I am cool with it. That's it for today. Drop a comment with your verdict below, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a story.